Dory 1, this is Fireteam Delta. Dad's coming home.
Welcome to the Military Veteran Dad Podcast, where it is our mission to bring every dad home. I am your host, Ben Killoy. I'm a United States Marine veteran, husband, and a father. We will bring authentic conversations to inspire action in your life so we can close the gap between the dad you are today and the dad you want to be tomorrow. This is the Military Veteran Dad Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Fatherhood Friday. July is wrapping up, and let me tell you, over here at Military Veteran Dad, it has been one of our biggest months of downloads. I have seen lots of great months in the year and a half of doing this, but July will go on record as our largest to-date download record, by far the best month we've ever had. So thank you out there for listening and showing up to this podcast, because it is listeners like you that keep coming back for the content that make this podcast possible and help me fuel the dream of helping bring every military dad home, both mentally and emotionally. So let's get started with this week's episode. So this week's episode, I'm going to try to keep it short because I feel like this topic is a short one. It needs a 1-2 punch to deliver the content. So I'm going to see if I can get it done. So one thing I realized when I was out into the woods is that I was on an overlanding experience, which is about going on the roads that nobody travels on, the windy roads, the let's go left, let's go right, let's go a mile to the left and then to the right. Like, there was no straight path to the destination that we were headed to each night. And it was just this constant zigzag back and forth. And I'm looking at this, and when we first got started on the path way down in Galena, Illinois, it was very quickly that there was so much beauty on the rough road. And that's what today's episode is about. Taking the rough roads in life versus the expressways, the highways, whatever shortcut there is, the rough roads, the non-shortcuts, actually can deliver more beauty, more impact on your soul, more connection to who you are as a father, a man, as a human being, than the straight roads of the interstate and all the other roads that we mostly take, including myself. Right up until this trip, I was always let's go on the straight road and let's get there as fast as possible. Now, I had the roots from my dad, because my dad's kind of the guy. I remember after it rained, we'd always go on a random car ride, driving around and going different places to observe how much rain came. As a farmer, he was always interested in how much puddles were around the neighborhood and the county. But as an adult, I didn't really get connected to that idea. I lost the lesson in that. But on this time when I went into the woods, there was so much beauty by driving into the rough roads that, like, even just this small idea. So many times we were driving and there would be this massive view that would come into focus, and it would just be this overlooking of the hill. It would be this overlooking of the valley that we were in. A lot of northern and western Wisconsin has a lot of valleys, and it was just beauty. And that would have been missed had we taken any fast pace, or had we been worried about just staying on the interstate, worried about our exit. There was so much more life on the rough road. And I think that's such an illusion for American society and human society in 2020, that a lot of life is truly experienced on the rough roads, the gravel, the not paved roads, the road less traveled. There is so much more value that I learned through that 6-day trip by going on the road less traveled. There were some roads that we just went on, and they were just like these massive rock canyons that would open up and we'd drive through, and then we would drive through a riverbed and just water would come splashing up, and it was the thrill and excitement and that adventure of the unknown as well. Like, we could have ran into anything on those roads. We could have ran into a blockade, and we would have had to get out and move it. In many cases, a couple times we did on the way home. We had to move some trees on the back roads. But these are roads that many people don't travel on. There is one particular road, Forest Road 327. We will always remember the name of this road. But 4327 didn't even have a wide enough for the truck to fit, and the trees were always banging against the side. In many cases, it was a road that was built for an ATV, and we were going down it in a Land Rover that maybe wasn't perfectly designed for it, but we did it anyhow. And there was one time we had to get out and lift a branch, and I swear the flies were some of the biggest flies I've ever seen in my life on this road. But we will always remember Forest Road 327 because it got narrower, and the intenseness of this
road, which probably went on for maybe 5-6 miles, was incredible because, one, we could have met someone on that road coming the opposite direction. It would have been a very odd scenario that we would have met him, but it would have screwed us over because would have been no way you could have passed anybody on this road. You would have had to go in reverse and do it all over again. But that adventure of that road will always be in my friend's heart. We'll always remember Forest Road 327. And there was something else as we were traveling through these roads, and especially up in northern Wisconsin, it's pretty much a lot of pine wooded forests up there. And there was so many times where I was just looking by all the life in the forest. And it hit me that there was something that I don't honor enough. And I think a lot of people don't honor enough as well. And that's what I'm sharing this message with you guys today, is the abundance of life out there. There was so much life going on, whether it be trees, whether it be ants, whether it be bugs, whether it be small little rodents, whether it be bunnies, whether it be deer and Bambis. All of that was out there. It was abundant everywhere. I've never seen so many deer cross the road in my life. If I was actually a hunter, it would have been like, man, I would have been mad that it wasn't hunting season. But that abundance of life was something that I kind of forgot about. But again, I had to go on the rough roads to be reminded of that. I had to go onto a road that forced us to slow down, to really enjoy the process of navigating, to enjoy the journey of not maybe knowing how we're going to get there. That idea, that understanding of going on the rough roads instead of the straight roads and the shortcuts, there is so much truth in life. If you think about some of the worst things that have happened to you, you probably could easily say, well, that was the roughest road I've ever been on, metaphorically speaking in this case. But then look back a couple of years later and be like, you know what, that rough road really taught me a lot of things that I use today. And I can say the same thing about my life. There are so many different things where the rough road taught me something I needed when I was living my life. And that is something that we have this illusion, especially as military dads, I think, we have this illusion that once we come back from war, once we transition, that it should be an easy road. But it's not. And then we get super depressed that it's not an easy road. And we get hung up on big questions like, what's my purpose? What's my passion? Am I even alive? Why am I even here? And often it's because we're looking for the easy road. That at some point someone just say, hey, go over here and there's an easy road. But that's not how life works. And by not embracing this idea that the rough road is actually where we actually really dig deep in who we are we capable of getting out and lifting the tree and moving it? Do we have the skills, the knowledge to move that tree and that roadblock? Because without those little tests, we're not really developing our character. We're not really developing and chiseling away who we are. There was something else that kind of hit me throughout the process on the 6-day camping trip I went on the beginning of July, was this idea that going out into the woods was a little bit like a log. If you think of yourself as a regular log that hasn't been done anything with it, and each test that you go with on that adventure that I was on, I felt like the log was being chiseled away. Or if you use a rock analogy or a stone analogy and a mason, that mason was chipping away and sculpting who I was. And if you could take it to a spiritual sense, that God was chipping away and revealing pieces of myself and revealing beauty in myself that I wasn't able to see. But again, going back to the beginning, I had to travel the road less traveled. And that's today's message. Travel the roads less traveled. Find the road that's going to shape who you are faster, better, and more capable, so that when you are on an easy road, you are more prepared for life. You are capable of handling many things that come into your life. You are able to help others in your life who have maybe fallen down, who are not prepared and need to get going. That is what I believe really helped make me come alive through that. And I'm looking forward to next week. I'm going camping again for 2 days. I'm going back into the woods, just me and another guy, different guy friend. I'm excited to just get back into that experience and just relive some of the same energy and see how it's changed after being home for a month and getting back into it. But guys, we need to travel the roads less traveled. Don't look for the shortcuts in life. There are no shortcuts, because the shortcuts are actually going to make you feel like crap. It's the actual process of chiseling away who you are with the challenge, whatever it may be in front of you. That will reveal your purpose. When you start chiseling away who you are, the person that God intended when he created you, that is when you find your purpose. That is when you understand how you can become alive. And that is how you go out there and be the best fucking dad you can be, because you reveal the best dad version inside of you. But you have to go on that journey to chisel away who you are on the outside. And with that, I'll close out the message, and I'll talk to you guys again on Monday.